build those fees IDB as they are registered and is used to assist designated groups in construction and professional built environment. Now, they report to us on the interventions about harnessing the role of internal audit to assist with review of the build revenue. So the revenue is there, but that needs to be managed properly. So they realize it's a lot of money coming in, and they need to start looking after this money and make certain that there's value for money on that side, but also that they track it. This is their budget, and you see no build revenue on this. And that's what they explained to us, the reason why it is like that, and in the next financial year it will be in there. Expenditure per program is indicated. Now, this is the issues to note. Compliance with the registration of projects, which is a precursor to the build program, is very slow. They say it averages 28%. So you can imagine if it's increased, the amount of money that can be generated for these, for the purpose, in other words, that of assisting the development of people in both the construction as well as the professional built environment. They said that state-owned enterprises like Sanral and Eskom made commitments to the build program, and according to according to CIDB, it shows promise of over 19 million that has been since contributed to the fund. Of course, it holds promise for more to be contributed. Our problem is, of course, that our SOEs are in trouble. It's something to be kept in mind when we speak about that. Legislative and regulatory amendments. CIDB, as I referred to earlier on in the in the departments section, we need an amendment here, and some of the amendment will also then deal with ensuring compliance to programs such as build. Firming up the provisions for the establishment of the register of professional providers. Members, this is a very important one that we need to give more attention to as a committee. Except for the ROC, the register of contractors, also a register of professional providers. This is a good control that needs to, that we can exercise around transformation targets, but also around quality, as well as if the ROC is tightened up. We can then track professional built environment practitioners as well as contractors that renege on contracts and run away, change their company's name, and start working on tenders, which they very often win elsewhere. The build program, they were referring to some of the success where 250 women contractors are to be supported with the implementation of construction management system, and then supporting the department in developing the construction industry recovery plan, because that is also what the amendment of the legislation of both the CBE and CIDB is about. Interventions to improve infrastructure spending, that's the issues around FIBDM and IDMS, which I presented to in the strategic plan of this committee. We go to CBE. Honorable Hicklin's favorite. The budget is shown. And the matters here is all of those that Honorable Hicklin mentioned and other members mentioned. Research and development. We refer to the fact that previously we referred to as a committee to underspending of allocated funds for research and development, policy and knowledge management. We wanted to know which research, policy and knowledge management programs were in the pipeline. In other words, that's the first question we asked under the department. It applies here as well. If you budget, show value for money. Registration of built environment professionals. We stressed the need for CBUE to use the research policy and regulatory function that it has and its allocated budget to ensure that built environment professionals in the PMTE, DPWI, municipalities and all departments are registered with the CBE. We said that because we know from experience that in local government, very often stretched municipalities would use PBEs that are not registered with the CBE, and that is just going by the wayside. But it threatens lives in the end. Bridges can fall on people, roads can sink in and cause damage. Adherence to the Promotion of Administrative Justice Act by CBE, the independents when they're busy with investigations, the CBE gets complaints and they must then investigate those complaints, and very often the clarity on how independent the investigators that are appointed in these cases, that has come to the fore, and we are just urging them that under Program 5, their Program 5, they must ensure that they adhere to, comply with the PAJA for these activities to be done fairly, independently, and fully protecting the rights of individuals and institutions. Empowerment and Economic Development Program. The estimated expenditure of this program remains as previously, and members said this seems to suggest that the targets in your APP won't be reached. You state APPs, but your budget doesn't show a high enough allocation for you to actually reach those targets that you state. A lack of compliance reports. No compliance reports were completed by the CBE. Members said this raised questions on how these would be completed in the coming financial years. And we said they need to supply the committee also with the names of the new council members. Because we had new council members, they report to us, but we don't know who reported to us. We wanted that in the organogram. The importance of transformation, as if we still have to say so, Chair. Inclusion of new built environment and professional councils. We have seen the welcome addition of new councils, and the members congratulated the CBE on that. Here is the stepchild, the IDT, that should not be the stepchild. And we refer in this first section to that historical, somebody recently in another context spoke about, you must remember it's a history of emotional targeting. And this has a feel of that. Real emotional issues that were raised here, including, we have to be honest, Chair, the loss of life in at least one person when this entity was almost dissolved. The background also speaks to that matter. I just see something that's in, the incursive printed portion refers to, quote unquote, the IDT must be transformed into a government development agency that will implement projects which are commissioned by government departments. It must cease to be a civil society organization, an independent agency or funding agency. That comes from a quote, Chair, in a report that was done in March 1997 on the IDT and the restructuring of the IDT. It was a report that was made to the Deputy President Thabo Mbeki. The report was called Structural Relations Between Government and Civil Society Organizations. The IDT was then already recognized as the social infrastructure entity that had to be transformed from its apartheid era guise of an independent development trust to a new agency that would play a different role in a different government. The problem is that what happened with the possible dissolution had huge negative effects, and it continues to be there. Sorry, I see a concord of the verb error, Chair. Mrs. Aronson, my standard 8 English teacher, grade 10 English teacher, is still robots of the verb. So Chair, we with the entities we did something different. We put summaries of challenges. In the case of the IDT, we referred to the long drawn-out transformation process, not converted from Schedule 2 to Schedule 3A public entity, as was promised. Inez can recall. The policy leader and the department, as lead department, did not report on progress with the implementation of any aspect of the 2018 turnaround. And in spite of knowledge that the IDT was unable to collect management fees from client departments, we don't see such a strategy in place. And so these enumerated 6 points refer to all those problems, the sixth one being one that members have been saying over and over. The IDT suffers from a trust deficit with government departments, and what they do now, including our department and the PMTE, it hands project management and maintenance services to KUGA, DBSA, and now also the IDC, and not to the IDT. There is a section on addressing the challenges that refers to how the board was stabilized and how it's attempting to establish trust and reconfiguring the IDT in the future. We've all read those sections because the report was sent early to members. And then it refers to strategic positioning. The spaces that members see we will fix. And then it has the budget that we put in there. And there is an analytic portion here on the budget. The one aspect that is relevant to look at is not for now necessarily, but in the annual report stage, for the committee to look at the non-state sector EPWP that IDT manages for the department, and that is a thing to keep our finger on, because it's the one thing where the department used the IDT, but instead of using them for construction project management and maintenance purposes. We made a note on litigation and capital expenditure because in the deliberation this came up. And the APP also refers to it, and then members spoke about this. There's a high litigation list, and I think it was Honourable van Schalkwyk who asked this question. Or Hicklin, can't recall precisely. The litigation list, does it include the court proceedings? Sorry, first of all, mediations were one, and the department and IDT does this, where they take it to the Labour Court to review the CCMA recommendations. So the question was, does the litigation list include the staff? And the answer was yes. So it is something that there may be a need for a report with more detail on this. These are the matters raised in the deliberation that I just went through. I'm not going to go through 55 and 56. We move to Agrimore, somebody's darling entity. She apparently adopted the entity away from the committee chair. I'm just teasing. So the tasks and the mandate is stated as always. The budget is also provided, and we speak to the budget a bit. And then we speak to the matters that emerged in deliberations. There was a congratulation, and this is quite good to see. You're not even busy with your legacy report yet, but in your APPs you can already see results. This is clearly 651 is a result of this committee doing its oversight work. This committee right from the start said to Agrima SA, why do you not brand and why do you not market? Nobody knows about your stuff. Well, they now have stakeholder events. I think the committee went to it.
Yeah, we went to
the committee went to a stakeholder event, and there's a lot of work being done between Agrima and human settlements and other departments, water, sanity, transport, with some of the road surfaces. The entity also spoke about its eco-labeling. This promises to bring in a lot of money for this entity, and it promises to put the country right up there when it comes to environmental friendly building methods, and this is where CBE and CIDB must work with this entity. The entity also reported about reach out programs, speaking about reaching out to engineering institutions and councils, but also to the architectural fraternity, because when eco-labeling is used and innovative, fit for purpose material is used and systems are used, then architects must plan for it. They must draft their building plans differently and actually state on the plans that will go to the municipalities and get approved by the building inspectors. This is going to be an eco-labeled building because of this. And eco-labeled buildings will also cause property costs to rise of particular buildings. And again, here the PMTE will come in. If the property of government is higher valued in terms of eco-labeling, you can imagine what you can charge per lease. Your lease cost will also go up. And that's how you can raise your money. They refer to a very interesting one, the National Home Builders Registration Council. If you build a new home, it must be registered there, otherwise the bank won't give you a loan. Yeah. And similarly, the NHBRC model needs to be used by Agrima SA, that you cannot build with their stuff, or you cannot build anymore unless you have a certain amount of environmental friendly buildings. No, Chair, that is an intermission. We get funding from advertisers like that. The old radio stations did that. So Agrima SA says that that's what they want to do, that they want to have an NHBRC type of certification. Did I go through all the entities?
You did,
oh.
In our recommendations.
Just to remind we
yes,
have been given this
venue for a short time.
Up to 5.
No, Chair, we'll be finished at 22.5. So having considered the planning documents and budgetary allocations, these are the recommendations, Chair, from 7.1 down. We ask for a report on the debt collection strategy that would enable the PMTE to recover fees that the client departments owe. The PMTE remained unable to recover funds owed so that properties can be maintained according to the fixed schedules. So that report will cover that stuff. The report, second one is the report on improving the manner in which the department and the PMTE uses the budget to reach stated performance targets. Let me just put performance in there. I won't take long. Performance. That's how you spell correctly. You sound it. So that delivery to client departments are improved, specifically regarding these. I'm not going to read all of them. There are 5 of those, and they include everything from construction, project management, etc., that we referred to earlier on. Then a report on, this one is called the Mashele recommendation, a report on the geographical positions on further detail of the status of each project, etc. We read that one out fully earlier on. 7.4, a report on the geographical positions of also the stated 109 infrastructure projects in its APP, with further detail on on the main and subcontractors. And then also the environmental impact and social impact assessments. 5, a detailed report on cost, the initial cost of the arquebus, as well as the service providers, staff training per module, and they must come do a demonstration. But we sneak this one in, Chair, but we are already going to, I think, put it into one of our items for the next term. So the committee must please forgive us for doing that. 6, a report on a system to track cost to company, meaning the department and the PMTE, for all infrastructure South Africa project as per the MOU with Treasury, DBSA and EDC SA, that assists knowledge of precisely what the responsibilities were of each party, what the workflow was of infrastructure project, and how the funding could be tracked. We're asking this, Chair, because we struggle to find out how to do oversight over those infrastructure South Africa projects, so that we can then figure out how to do it with them presenting to us. 7, a report on a total facilities management system, its compliance with GIAMA, replacing the ad hoc maintenance of immovable assets with a scheduled maintenance strategy stated in each user and custodian immovable asset management plan. My understanding is that if you implement GIAMA properly, that you will have per building a scheduled maintenance plan. So that's there, 7. And 8, a report on the trajectory of the PMTE to become a fully fledged property management and trading entity. Those italicized things there don't have to be in this report, but when Nola and I talk to them, that's what we will tell them we want in their presentation. 9, a report on a strategy to ensure that the women and disability and youth targets are raised above 45% as a performance indicator. 10, a report on tracking and monitoring mechanisms for all of the infrastructure. I think I'm repeating one of the recommendations. I'll check on it. If it's a repeat, I will take that one out. 11, a report from IDT on alternative funding. Members may recall that they said they were going to work on alternative funding, but we didn't hear from them precisely what it was. And so we are asking them to come and talk to us about that in a meeting. And then, where am I? 14. 12. I want to be finished before 22. A report on litigation. And that's where we will see the split between contracted project management contract works and that of the former staff. And we ask that they split it like that for us. 13, a report on progress with the Minister's policy leadership to include the IDT as a preferred service provider for the department and the PMTE instead of KUGA, EDC, etc. Report by Agrima on its strategy to facilitate partnerships with other infrastructure and construction entities. That's the NHBRC type of thing. And with human settlements, you know, we include water here and cabling for networking, road and bridge building stuff. A report by Agrima again on that certification aspect, NHBRC one that we referred to earlier on, and 16, report from the CBE on using allocated funds for research, development, policy and knowledge management as referred to earlier on in deliberations. 17, a report from CBE on investigations into professional affairs and adherence and compliance with PAJA. 18, a report on CIDB, from CIDB on key matters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bullets that include the build program and how they're going to get large private infrastructure and construction project providers to participate. CIDB must report to us in collaboration with Treasury on the IDMS, FIPDIM, and ensuring supply chain management, PFMA, NT regulations, and FIPDIM is strengthened. Report to be considered. Thank you, Chair. That's 22, Chair. I'm done.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jensen, for such a detailed report. Honorable members, we were the ones that were interacting with the department and its entities, and some of the, in fact, all the issues that were raised, that are raised in this report, are the issues that we were raising when we were analyzing and deliberating on the report from the department and its entities. Any comments, questions?
Only that one should
Honorable Weekling.
Thank you, through you, Chair. On page 30, it's the negative effect, not negative affect, on CRDB and CBE Amendment Acts. It's a typo. That's the only one that I had.
Did I have it as effect?
You had it as affect
And not effect. I like messing with
it's the only one. That's the only one I have.
Honorable Jabo?
Thank you, Chairperson.
I see.
And I'd like to welcome the report. And I can say it's a true reflection of what you said. And I'm happy with the report, especially the 7.9 and 7.8 and the last bullet on 7.8, 7.18. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Honorable Jabo. Ms. Ness, would you allow me not to give you, looking at the time, because I understand that you are part of the compilation of this report together with
Sure. I'd like to propose also the adoption of the report.
Okay, after correcting what has been raised by Honorable Hicklin,
Yes.
Honorable Jobo is also proposing that is moving the motion that we adopt the report as our report. Honorable Hicklin?
I'll second the chair.
Thank you, Honorable Hicklin. It moves for the settlement. Honorable members, this is the report that when we're dealing with budget reports from different, in fact, in the plenary, it will be the basis of our deliberations and discussions. So we must take it and then prepare our own. It will be ATC, and then we must prepare our own notes for the discussions when then we are invited to go and present it in the plenary. Any announcements, Ms. Martinez? The time. Did you say the time? The issue of the minutes.
Yes.
How many sets? How many sets?
We've got 4 sets. Very quickly.
I wanted to defend the issue of the.
I think we're supposed to adopt every because we've got 4 nights.
Let's vote, Chair.
Yes, Chair. I
Okay.
promise by 10 to will be done.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Honourable Chair. There are 4 sets of minutes that are in front of the Committee for Consideration and Adoption, most of which were already sent to the Honourable Members a couple of weeks ago because they were supposed to have been adopted at that time. The first set of minutes, Chairperson, are the minutes of the meeting that was held on the 22nd of February, where a petition of the Brackendown Police Station in the city of Ekurhuleni, which was tabled by Honourable T. Botlani, was considered by the committee and adopted. I'll pause there, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Are these minutes the true reflection of what we deliberated when we were dealing with the petition about Ekurhuleni?
I will propose, Chair.
Honourable Kalk Bay,
I'm seconding the Chairperson.
can you go to the second link of minutes?
The second set of minutes, Honourable Chairperson, are the minutes of the meeting that was held on the 15th of March, where the Auditor General presented to the committee the audit action plan of the department. This is the meeting that was also supposed to hear the APP of the department, but because of the transition between the old and the new executive authority, so the department had not tabled the APP at the time. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you so much, Nala. I think we will all remember when we had to cut the second item of our meeting in that particular day, because at the time, if we can say we were in what transit or whatever, at the time the new minister had not been sworn in and the new deputy minister, we were just, we didn't have the part of the executive. So we had to cut the issue of the APPs and refer them to the next meeting. So are these minutes the true reflection of what we discussed on that particular day. Honorable Joba.
I propose.
Honorable Joe moves that we adopt the minutes.
I'll second, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Hicklin.
Thank you, Chair. The third set of minutes is the minutes of the meeting that was held on the 22nd of March, where the DPWI, PMTE, and the CBE tabled to the committee their annual performance plans. Thanks, Chair.
May I then get a mover that we adopt those minutes? Honorable members, Honorable Jobo.
I move.
Thank you, Honorable Jobo. Any seconder? Honorable Hans-Kalvik, thank you so much. The last set.
The last set of minutes, Chairperson, are the minutes of the meeting that was held on the 29th of March, where the committee heard from the Auditor General regarding the material irregularities as per the ATC that referred this matter to the committee quite some time last year. We also heard the Agrima SA, IDT, and CIDB entities, which are the entities of the Public Works portfolio, that when they tabled their APPs to the committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Can we have a mover for those minutes? Honorable Hicklin,
I'll move, Chair.
Honorable Joba.
Second.
Thank you so much, honorable members, that we have adopted these sets of minutes. We know that we are in the oversight, but for you to allow that after the visit that we had earlier today, you must continue with your portfolio committee work. It shows how this portfolio committee is committed to its work. Really appreciate this time, honorable members. Tomorrow, what is the program tomorrow?
Tomorrow, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, we will be moving from the Saldanha Bay Hotel, where we are staying, to Yzerfontein. Yzerfontein is not too far, it's about 15 minutes away. So we could possibly leave the hotel at 9 o'clock, Chair, if we may. So we'll start with our program in Yzerfontein Harbour, in the CSIR building. Is it CSIR building? I think it's something like that, or NHRI building in the Yzerfontein Harbour, where we'll be meeting with the service provider that's managing the harbour on behalf of the municipality. And as I highlighted yesterday, Chairperson, that there's no harbour master that's been appointed by the DFFE, because they stated that that's an unproclaimed small harbour. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. That is tomorrow's program, honorable members. So thank you so much. Thank you again, honorable members, for your deliberations. Earlier on, when we were dealing with the oversight visit, the reports that was presented to us, and now when we're dealing with our budget report, I could see that some members who are not part of the committee felt that we were behaving in a certain way. They don't understand that we always do that. And I really appreciate whatever that we do, we always do it in a manner that has dignity, that has integrity, but we don't forget that as public representatives, we have work to do. So thank you again, honorable members. Tomorrow in another harbour with all the vigor that we have. Thank you.
Thank
The
you,
meeting is
Chair.
adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Formally congratulating Honorable Mashele.
Wilson.
for